All right. It's on and popping February 22nd in Las Vegas. Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder, the WBC champion, is fighting Tyson Fury, the not a champion at all. I'm so sick of this lineal stuff popping out of these dudes' mouth. And coming up, they had a press conference, a lot of really interesting stuff. Some things changed, some things stayed the same. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button down there and the join button. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, thank you so much to everybody that joins on the Patreon, all the new members on the Patreon, and everybody that supports in the live streams Monday through Friday, and OG Boxing Talk with my co-hosts on Sunday. Okay, because that's pretty much what we do on the channel. We have the live streams, we do the videos, we do the Patreon, and I really appreciate you guys' support. All right. The press conference, man, it was a good press. It was interesting press conference, a little more low key than the ones they had last time. A little for me, a little less nerves because, you know, I'd already seen these guys fight before. I think I know what to expect. I knew what to expect in the press conference, and you know, they didn't disappoint. Couple observations though that I do have about the weigh-in is one, Deontay Wilder looked, for some reason, man, he looked bigger than he did in the past. Now, black is he came out in an all black suit with a gold chain, man, a ridiculously nice gold chain. I'm not really big into gold chains, but that one was really nice. He came in, he looked he looked big. The size difference between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder didn't look that great. I think he's more than likely coming in, gonna hopefully for him, he's gonna come into this fight a little bigger than he did last time. I think last time he weighed in somewhere between 209 and 212, where Tyson Fury was closer to 260. So, you know, he just gave up a tremendous amount of size in the last fight. But one thing that I thought was interesting that Deontay Wilder talked about, and well, I'm gonna talk about one thing from Deontay Wilder and one thing for Tyson Fury, because I think that they both might come into play. One is Deontay Wilder was asked about his performance last time, and it really does seem to me like Deontay Wilder really knows that there's a lot of things that he can improve from the last fight. And specifically what he talked about, and this is something that I noticed going into the first fight, was just his general anxiousness for the fight. I thought that going into the first fight, Deontay Wilder was doing a lot, like just whether it was wearing the mask that was covering his face up, or whether it was just, you know, just the amount of energy that he was putting out ahead of the fight. It just seemed like he was a lot more tense than he usually is going into his fights. And one of the reasons that he mentioned, and he actually mentioned that in saying that, you know, that was his first pay-per-view, that was his first time being center stage, and, you know, it was something he was working for a very long time. So he was just really amped up for the fight. And he was essentially just described, you know, being nervous not because of Tyson Fury, but because he was, you know, on center stage. And that's something that I've heard said by Floyd Mayweather Jr. as a competitive, when he mentioned competitive advantages that he had over his competition. Before the fights that Floyd Mayweather would have, he would always talk about fighting under the bright lights and how he was used to fighting under the bright lights. And when other fighters get under the bright lights, they choke up. And, you know, they don't do as well as he does because, you know, he had a lot of experience at a certain point in time. Well, actually early on in his career, but he was fighting, you know, since I think Arturo Gatti might have been his first pay-per-view fight. So his big first, you know, breakout fight was Arturo Gatti. And that was before he got to the Ricky Hattons, the Oscar De La Hoyas, Miguel Cottos, and then the series of pay-per-view fights that he had when he transitioned over Showtime, including Canelo Alvarez, including Manny Pacquiao. So that amount of, and so Floyd Mayweather Jr. would always mention that as one of the competitive advantages that he had. And I think that that was a competitive advantage that Tyson Fury had going into the first fight, because Tyson Fury had already had in, although it was 3 years before that, or 3 or 4 years before that, he had already been on the big stage in Dusseldorf, Germany, on a big pay-per-view card fighting Vladimir Klitschko. So, he had already been to the mountaintop as far as, fighting on a pay-per-view, fighting a really big, significant fight with somebody, where Deontay Wilder, didn't have that for one reason or another. He didn't have that opportunity earlier in his career. His biggest fight prior to the Tyson Fury fight was the Luis Ortiz fight. So, but this situation is different because now this isn't it's not his first pay-per-view, it's his third pay-per-view. And it's not the first time. So it's not the first time that he's been out there and he's been in front of the bright lights. Also, as far as the amount of notoriety and the amount of focus that's been on Deontay Wilder in the boxing world, it's significantly increased in the last 2 years. So when he mentioned that, I was glad to hear it, because it's something that I really did believe played a part in the fight the first time. And you could see it in the way that Deontay Wilder really approached. I think that you could see it in the way that Deontay Wilder approached the fight with Tyson Fury, and because he was really just winging for the beginning of the fight. At times he would really be swinging for the fences with the right hand, not necessarily really trying to set it up. So as well as he did in the next two fights against Dominic Brazil and Luis Ortiz. And I think that those are, as far as being able to take fights that will prepare you for another big fight, those are both two very good fights, to take in the lead up to this fight. Now, as far as Tyson Fury goes, Tyson Fury says something I just don't believe him. Okay, Tyson Fury, every time he fights, he talks about how he's going to knock somebody out. So this time he says he's had dreams about two, and how he's going to knock Deontay Wilder out in 2 rounds. He hired the crunk trainer Sugar Hill, so that he could focus on sitting down on his punches, really laying into his punches, and and going for the knockout against Deontay Wilder, because he doesn't think that he's going to be able to get a call in Vegas with Deontay Wilder. And honestly, man, he said that Tyson Fury says that every fight. He said he's going to knock Deontay Wilder's spark out last time. Right? He said he always talking about how he's going to knock somebody out. He's going to knock Vladimir Klitschko out. I don't think that he might have that in his head, but when he goes into the ring, man, I think that he's going to revert to fighting the way that he usually fights. He's going to be kind of, the skittish, herky-jerky, multiple, triple feints and, jabs, and move on the outside and try to avoid getting hit. If he gets hit, he's going to come forward and try to lean on Deontay Wilder. I don't think at this point in his career that, he's going to all of a sudden turn into George Foreman. Tyson Fury is just he's not a big puncher, but he's a very, very big guy. So it's really hard sometimes to get a hold and really to get a shot at his head. But, we'll see how the fight turns out. I'm favoring Deontay Wilder to win the fight, because I think Deontay Wilder is just, I don't think that there was much of a difference between the two in that fight, in the first fight, with the exception of somebody getting knocked down, Tyson Fury getting knocked down 2 times. I don't think there was that much of a difference in the fight. And to tell you the truth, the people that think that Tyson Fury was somehow putting on some master boxing clinic, man, I've watched that fight several times, dude. I don't see it. I see that there's a lot of very skillful things that he did. That the triple feints are effective in keeping somebody's hands at home, and then the jabs and, throwing 2 and 3 jabs at the time can keep somebody preoccupied and keep something coming back at you. But hey, man, if only one of the three, if the three jabs are light flicking jabs that land on somebody's gloves, most of the time it doesn't score. I think that Tyson Fury had some success sometimes with straight rights in between the gloves of Deontay Wilder, but it just, man, just flat out, it was not that big a gap in this boxing in as far as, you know, the rounds of that fight, man. That's just, I mean, I just think that that's make-believe, you know? But anyway, I like the fact that they're getting in the ring. I'm gonna say some things in a separate video about Tyson Fury and this whole lineal conversation. But look, man, it was a good press conference. I actually saw the lead into the fight. I actually saw an advertisement for the fight on the national champion, the college football national championship game between LSU and Clemson. So I was like, okay, Fox really does push that promotion. So anyway, we'll see what happens in the right fight. You let me know what you think about the press conference. And with that, I'm out. Peace.